Well, I was going to talk to you about the settlement in the case of Elijah McClain, but we have a very special guest with us right now. You just watched him in the courtroom in some of our clips. That is one of the defense attorneys who really, in our system of justice, defense attorneys play such an important role. This is Jason Sheffield. He is on the phone with me. He represents the Travis McMichael in the Ahmaud Arbery cases. We're calling it. Travis McMichael is accused of being the actual shooter in this matter. I met Jason at a teaching seminar in, shall we say, a couple years ago, pre-pandemic. Jason, welcome and thank you for coming on the show.
Hi, Linda. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be with you on your very fabulous show.
Thank you very much. Jason, I have a couple of questions for you, if you can answer them. Jury selection is the most important part of any trial, my belief is. What are you looking for in terms of a juror in this case, a fair juror?
We're looking for people who understand truly the concept of their duty and their responsibility as a juror. We're looking for people who may recognize that they've heard a lot about this case, that it's come from the media, that it's come from conversation in the community, but that they haven't actually heard the true facts of the case. And we're looking for them to recognize the difference between what they may hear in the media versus what they hear in the courtroom, and to promise us that pursuant to that duty and that responsibility that we all have towards our truth-seeking process, to the presumption of innocence, to the burden of proof on the prosecution, that they will come into this case with an open mind and not have any prejudgments about the guilt of the accused.
Okay. So with that, Jason, let me ask you this. You're in Brunswick County. Is this a county that you deem good for us, given the fact that I watched this morning that none of the jurors felt they'd ever been discriminated against in terms of employment or in terms of arrests or anything of that sort? Do you think this is a good county for you, and why?
Well, it's Glenn County here down in Brunswick, and I was a little surprised at the lack of answers on that question myself. That's one of those questions where we know that it's true and that all jurors should be raising their hands, but none did. That then becomes part of what we have to do when we have the jurors individually, one-on-one, to begin to ask them to kind of reassess that a little bit and to talk and be open about race in the community or racism in the community and how it may play a role in the justice system and in policing. And so we're still following up on that particular question. But ultimately, I do believe out of all the jurors that we've summoned here, we will find 12 well-intentioned, well-meaning jurors who understand what it is to do their duty as a juror, and that we will have a few alternates as well.
Judge Sheffield, but let me ask you this. After your client was arrested, he said that he shot Ahmaud Arbery, the victim, in self-defense, the decedent in self-defense here. Are you going to maintain this self-defense? And some people have characterized that as a Trayvon Martin defense. Can you comment?
Yeah, I would not put this case in the same category as Trayvon Martin, but this case is about a crossroads. It is about a crossroads where the law of citizen's arrest meets self-defense. And at that crossroad, we know that there are going to be very difficult issues for the jurors to work through. Citizens arrest law, as it existed back in 2020, is somewhat of a difficult law to understand, but when you apply it and you really do get down to its essence, it becomes very simple, really dealing with the concept of probable cause. What did the person believe that the suspect was doing? And then in the lawful execution of that arrest or detention, did things reach the level that they became dangerous, life-threatening on the person seeking to detain? And in this case, we say absolutely. And so that's ultimately what we have to help the jurors understand. The question will be, are they brave enough to do their duty and find these defendants not guilty? That is something that we're still working through.
We heard one of the prospective jurors say that he didn't have a good view of the father, that he thought he was more or less the ringleader. Is there any intention to sever your relationship with the father's son, and have Travis blame the father for what he did?
we totally understand that people are going to have their views, they're going to have their opinions. If they continue to maintain those views and opinions to the detriment of one of the defendants, then that becomes an issue for that defendant. Currently, and we believe we will continue to have a joint defense agreement between counsel for Travis McMichael and his father, Greg McMichael, as the two were acting together in concert to try to resolve the crime in their neighborhood in a way that they could get the police involved and then step aside. So I don't see us parting ways at all during this case.
Who's making the opening statement on behalf of your client, Travis McMichael?
Well, me and my law partner are still deciding that. We feel that the opening statement in the case is really the most important aspect of the case because it solidifies the story of innocence. And there's no two people who want to tell Travis McMichael's story more than myself and my law partner, Bob Rubin. So between us, we'll have to wrestle it out and figure it out sooner or later.
And you said that you want to tell his story to the jury. What do we expect his story will be?
Well, we expect that this case is going to play out like we have been talking about for so long now, that this is a well-intentioned young man and father who were simply trying to do the best that they could, along with the other members of their neighborhood, to control the crime, to understand it, and to get the police involved as quickly as possible. And in doing so, thought that they had an opportunity to keep an eye on the number one suspect that they believed was doing the thefts in the neighborhood and that they believed was dangerous. And in doing that, in trying to keep an eye on him, in trying to engage him in conversation, in trying to talk with him and say, can you just tell us what's going on back there? Or what's happening? Or what are you doing here? In that conversation, he responded with nothing. No explanation, no anything, until the point that he decided that his way out of this detention was to attack Travis, who then had no choice but to try to keep control of his firearm and ultimately pull the trigger.
Okay, so Jason, I know that you have to get back into the courtroom. I know this was just lunch hour. We thank you, Jason Sheffield, for coming on and sharing your thoughts as to what will happen in the courtroom that we here at the Law and Crime will be covering. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Linda. Very much appreciate you.
It was the video that shocked the nation. An unarmed black jogger, 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery, gunned down in broad daylight. The three-man charge will now stand trial. For live gavel-to-gavel coverage of the trial, subscribe to Law and Crime on YouTube TV today.